A month away from discharge, the world has crumbled apart. Communication between the base and the outside world has been severed. Not only regular calls, but even the emergency communication network is down. All military frequencies are jammed. Fortunately, their unit is situated on a high mountain, and there are many obstacles around the unit that they could fortify. However, they're reaching their limit. According to the military commander-in-chief, their food supply is dwindling rapidly, and in the pursuit of survival, they have made a tough decision. While all the militaries were discussing, the chef was cooking at the moment. He knows that in times like these, militaries need to eat well and gather their strength. He was our story protagonist Sergeant Shin Young-jun, 23 years old. He was currently cooking a lunch which is a special sauce-infused, courage-inducing bear stew. After preparing the food, militaries lined up and sat down on the table to start eating. Is this truly the only option? Venturing out seems like an act of suicide, one military stated. As he swallowed the food, he was impressed with its delicious taste. At the same time, Lieutenant Kim dropped his food on the table before he could start eating and commanded everyone to prepare to leave. He was covered with an aura of anger while stating that they needed to go out and fight immediately. All the soldiers agreed with him and they were all greedy to hunt down some monsters' throats. They all immediately rushed outside to do their post-meal exercise and they were all cheering for themselves. At the same time, Young-jun was standing in the kitchen while thinking of what food he should prepare for dinner. Sergeant Shin Young-jun is the chief responsible for this unit. After a few hours, there were still some armies playing soccer in the field and there were some heading in the pantry. Inside the pantry, armies were buying snacks and they were wondering about what dinner they could eat this time. Young-jun was outside but he was heading back to his kitchen while carrying a box of food. The moment he saw the armies stuffing themselves with whatever they could find, he immediately walked fast going to the kitchen to prepare the meal immediately. Afterward, he had already worn his chef clothes while slicing some veggies. While slicing it, he heard his senior calling him. He then stopped what he was doing and his senior informed him that the squid which they should use to make a stir-fried squid for dinner was missing. As expected, Young-jun was mad and reminded them that he had told them so many times to check the food inventory properly. Before he could say more words, another assistant came to tell him that there was a call from Lieutenant Kim to say that he didn't want to eat the vegetable temperature for the next lunch. Young-jun was so irritated and his assistants were staring at him and were nervous that he might scold everyone. But then, Young-jun let it pass. Still, he was annoyed by the fact that he was already handling additional kitchen duties due to the shortage of hands. Plus, the squid for dinner was missing and Lieutenant Kim doesn't like vegetables for lunch. He then called the attention of everyone and told them all that they would now change the dinner menu from stir-fried squid to pork belly stir-fry. He also told them that they would use the pork belly they saved for a unit gathering last time. Hurry up, the guys will go crazy for pork belly, he added. He also asked one of his assistants to get cream and chicken from the fridge since he knows that Lieutenant Kim likes pasta, so he was also planning to make a chicken pasta dish. At the same time, armies were still busy playing soccer without knowing that there was one army that was attacked by a monster in the forest. This army was pulled by the monster, leaving his shoes behind. The monster was growling and completely ate the army as a whole. Going back to the kitchen, Young-jun Sr. handed him a cola while reminding him that only a few days left until their discharge. Young-jun accepted it and answered that with so little time left, it was almost worth doing things in the kitchen. I envy those going on end of service leave. What are Young planning to do after discharge? His senior asked, but Young-jun didn't think of any, but he thinks to learn more how to cook properly and try opening a restaurant. His senior was confused as to why he still wanted to have a food business, knowing that the food industry is a nightmare these days. And in addition, cooking wasn't even Young-jun's major. Young-jun smiled at him and said that he had found some satisfaction in being a cook in the army. For him, it feels good when people enjoy his food. That is why he wanted to learn how to cook properly. Wow, that's impressive. Will you come to the restaurant I used to work at later? I'll teach you as a senior, his senior asked. Upon hearing his offer, Young-jun unintentionally threw up the cola and directly said that he didn't like this senior of him and had no interest in Japanese cuisine. The senior then said that Japanese cuisine is good, but Young-jun disagreed. He put his cola on the table and said that he appreciated his senior's offer, but for him, the food industry was more strict in terms of hierarchy than the military. I don't want to roll under your command, he said. He then changes the topic by informing his senior that they were running out of salt earlier, so he ordered his senior to bring some from the storage. It's almost mealtime. Hurry up and get things in order, Young-jun commanded to everyone. After his senior left, he was thinking about Japanese cuisine. And for him, going under his senior as a junior doesn't sound appealing. but he believes that learning at a different restaurant style might be okay. Either way, the pinnacle of cooking for him is definitely Western cuisine. All of a sudden, he heard a strong noise coming from their storage room. There was also a scream coming from his assistant and he was startled by it. With the voice he hears, he believes that it is his assistant Jun-hyuk who is now in danger. He immediately rushed to the storage room and opened the door. He called Jun-hyuk's name but no one responded. Instead, he heard a growling sound. Young-jun was staring in its direction and was surprised to see a weird creature. It had a tail swinging and its hand was squeezing Jun-hyuk's head. Jun-hyuk was staring at Young-jun like he was asking for help. But Young-jun can sense that Jun-hyuk is already dead at this point. He was mad while his hands were trembling, thinking about what was going on. He believes that the creature he just saw is not a wild animal, and he believes that there is no way a huge monster exists. He was so puzzled, and the moment he moved his eyes, he saw Jun-hyuk's blood splattered around. He panicked knowing that he wasn't dreaming at all. He heard the monster continuously growling, and at the same time, his assistants came but he stopped them all from getting near the storage room. He was planning to get everyone out of this area first, so he told them all to quietly leave. His people were confused but he only told them to lie down quickly and go. On the other hand, another man came and directly went inside the kitchen while carrying a box. While walking, a monster smelled his aura. It then glared to him and its eyes were very sharp. The man was screaming in fear and Young-jun immediately ran to him and grabbed a knife to save him. He threw 3 knives at the monster and the monster was staring at it. Unfortunately, he wasn't able to hit the monster and the knives only dropped on the ground. The man slammed on the corner while the monster was trying to get to Young-jun. Young-jun was annoyed by the fact that he wasn't able to leave even a scratch on the monster. The monster grits its teeth and roars loudly. It charged toward Young-jun at a fast speed and while roaring, its saliva was dripping. Young-jun calmed himself and immediately went below the table to avoid the monster's attack. While crawling, he wondered why the monster this huge appeared in reality. The monster jumped above the table but was bumped into the corner and dropped to the ground. "Sergeant, what the hell is this?" Young-jun's assistant asked with a stuttering voice. But then, even Young-jun doesn't know about what creature this attacker is. This time, the monster gets up which makes Young-jun frightened. The monster destroyed the table where Young-jun was hiding. Young-jun was nervous while moving himself backward. The monster roared once more and swung its arm, planning to kill Young-jun. Luckily, his assistant grabbed a hot oil and called his name, and instructed him to get down. He then threw the oil to the monster, and the monster gone mad as it felt the burn sensation on its body. The man was wondering if he was able to stop the monster from attacking them after throwing it with hot oil. Since he wasn't sure, he grabbed another pot of oil and threw it to the monster for the second time. The monster was using its arm to block the oil, and it was also growling in pain. This time, Young-jun was staring at his companion, believing that the monster would be weak to scalding hot oil no matter how tough its skin was. A part of him also wants to end the monster to tell the people outside about what is happening in the kitchen. He called his junior subordinate, so his subordinate glanced at him and responded without knowing that the monster swung its tail and attacked him, causing him to fly away and stuck in the corner. Young-jun had witnessed how his junior subordinate instantly died, and this time, the monster spun his body around and swung its tail. Young-jun then covered his arms on his upper body and he was afraid to think that he might die like what happened to his comrades. He was so emotional while thinking of a way to survive. He glanced back at the monster as he wondered why the monster didn't attack him yet. The monster seems like growling in pain, and while staring at it, Young-jun realized that it could not see because of the oil a while ago. Its scales are also red and split, and he believes that the skin on the inside of the monster is exposed. He then concludes that he must find something to poke deep into the wound of the monster, and good thing that he instantly saw the knife. He knows that this knife is Jun-hyuk's favorite knife. The knife was near the monster, but the monster was still suffering in pain, and Young-jun knew that he might die once he made a sound while getting the knife. He grits his teeth, and at the same time, the monster rises and turns around. Luckily, Young-jun was able to grab the knife and immediately jumped, aiming the monster's wound. He then strikes the knife at the monster's wound, and the moment his knife gets deeper, the monster screams in agony. While the monster was screaming, it was also moving around because of the pain, which made Young-jun swing. Young-jun pushed the knife once more and the monster's blood splattered on his face. This time, the monster fell to the ground while Young-jun was still holding the knife. The monster was still growling, a sign that it was still alive, so Young-jun planned to kill it immediately, and not give it a chance to kill him instead. He pulled out the knife and struck it multiple times to the monster's wound, and the monster was screaming and could not do anything. Young-jun was full of anger while attacking the monster, stabbing it numerous times without feeling any guilt. After how many stabs, he finally ended the monster's life. The kitchen was full of blood and Young-jun felt tired, so he lay on the ground while panting loudly. "I won. I killed the monster," he uttered. The monster was also lying beside him lifeless. All of a sudden, a blink emerges and a window pops up to congratulate Young-jun on his awakening with a job novice chef level 1. His stats are currently 9 points strength, 10 points agility, 8 points magic, and 9 points luck. His current talents are novice dagger proficiency, beginner cooking proficiency, beginner ingredients discernment, and beginner flame affinity. He also has 2 skills, the chef's eye and the chef's special sauce. Young-jun was so confused since this was the first time he saw this window. As per the system, a unique talent has been detected in the Awakened. He was granted additional talent, large-scale cooking. At the same time, outside the field, it was very peaceful, and no one was roaming around. It turned out that the armies were also attacked by monsters and were killed. Corpses were everywhere, and seeing a lot of these corpses makes Young-jun wonder if everyone is now dead except for him. He was crawling at the moment as he exited the secret spot of the kitchen. He was nervous while thinking about what really is going on. He was clueless about what kind of monster is the attacker and what were those mysterious pop-ups. He checked the window again and it stated that a worldwide event, faction war, shall soon begin. Together they stand. It also shows that he can create a faction or join a faction. The earliest factions will receive special perks. Upon checking the system of Young-jun, he currently has no faction. He was still staring at the window, thinking about what hologram it was. For him, it looks like a system window from a game. He even thought that there was someone messing with him. As he clicks the window, someone uttered that the worldwide event Capture the Flag has commenced. "I'm the crazy one in this zone. Capture and expand your territory." It added, Young-jun's current region is Rock 17. He needs to capture flags in his region and advancing his faction will give him special perks. Young-jun was still puzzled. He held his head as he was annoyed that he didn't know anything. For now, he was planning to get out first, hoping that he could save himself. He also planned to find a survivor so he could have a comrade. He was still holding the knife he used to kill the monster a while ago, and he was hiding at the 3, observing around to make sure that no monster could see him. He was eager to survive but would take a look around in the area, even if he didn't find anything. At this moment, it was very clean on the field, but there was a loud noise of shots. Young-jun already made a move while thinking about which direction the shots were coming from. A part of him was expecting that the shot noise was coming from the ammunition depot, which he was getting closer. He also concludes that the people who decided they couldn't fight the monsters took out their guns and ran for the ammo. Since he hears the sounds of guns, he believes that there is great hope for him to find someone alive and survive together. Unfortunately, before he arrived at the ammunition depot, a monster appeared in front of him and saw his presence. Young-jun was startled while the monster was heading toward him. Young-jun panicked as he never got a sign that there was a monster nearby. In addition, he doesn't have any hot oil this time to kill another monster. When he glanced at the sky, a blink appeared and his skill, the chef's eye, was activated in an instant. The window pops out and shows the ingredients are now analyzed. Young-jun was so confused as to why the monster was now roaring loudly. After a few seconds, the ingredient analysis is successfully completed as per the system. A voice then uttered to tell Young-jun that he had obtained the novice cooking secret lizard grooming enlightenment. After analyzing the monster, the system stated that the joints of this lizard monster are flexible and soft for easy movement. Therefore, it's an ingredient that anyone with a bit of know-how can handle without much difficulty. Firstly, it's crucial to cut off the airway and drain the blood from the body. The left armpit area, being close to the heart, can be lightly pierced, allowing for a simple blood extraction from the vessels near the heart. Young-jun was staring at the system window, but after reading all of the notes written, he was still clueless, but he can sense that it was a method for preparing a monster. At this moment, the monster roared and crawled toward Young-jun again. He grips the knife tightly and prepares his body to fight back against the monster. He remembers the notes written at the window a while ago, and he doesn't have a choice but to give it a try. When the monster gets near to him, he immediately stabbed it, causing this monster to scream in agony. Surprisingly, the monster was instantly killed in just one slash. By this, Young-jun's new skill has been unlocked, a novice dagger skill. The system said that kill improves when using dagger-type equipment. The monster vomits blood, and since it is lifeless, it falls on Young-jun's body, making him also fall on the ground. A loud bang happens in the area, and after being stuck by the monster, Young-jun easily frees himself while panting heavily. He was glad that he was able to kill the monster by just following the system prompt. He believes that he could have died if there was no messages appeared. Young-jun wiped the blood near his eyes, but all of a sudden, he felt a strange feeling. It's like something filling him up from the inside, slowly, a sensation he has never felt before. He also obtained experience points, and the system shows the information of the skill, Chef's Eye. It is said that a great chef has no ingredients they cannot handle, even those they have never dealt with before. For targets judged as ingredients, observation can reveal the correct recipe, processing methods, and etc. for the target. Young-jun was surprised while staring at the monster, realizing that this monster is considered a food ingredient. As per the system, lizard meat is characterized by its light and savory taste. However, if overcooked, it tends to become hard. Without removing the gamey smell, it becomes an ingredient that requires careful attention. The system continuously explained and was about to say the cooking method of the lizard, but then Young-jun screamed enough as he couldn't believe that the system was telling him that the lizard monster who killed lots of people could be cooked and eaten. Young-jun was panting, and while he was confused, someone was walking nearby. It was an army and appeared behind Young-jun, asking for his identity. Young-jun introduced himself and the army walked toward him, so he identified that this army was Corporal Kim from the supply unit. Corporal Kim asks him what he is doing in the area alone and why he is full of blood. Young-jun refused to answer as it would be a waste of time to explain everything. There were some armies together with Corporal Kim, and he informed Young-jun that he had heard human voices from this direction. He thought that there might be survivors, that's why he came to check. Now, he told Young-jun that they should head to the ammunition depot first, as they didn't know when the monsters might come out again. He was heading the way while Young-jun was just following him. Corporal Kim instructed him to run as fast as he could, and the three ran together to go to the ammunition depot as soon as possible. The moment they arrive, Young-jun is asking about his other co-chefs. Corporal Kim only apologizes to him since all the chefs, aside from Young-jun, are dead. Young-jun then told him that there was nothing for him to apologize for. He believes that his co-chefs are good guys, which is why he felt sad to think that he's the only one left between them. At this moment, there are still armies in the depot, and Commander Kim informs them that Young-jun is a survivor they just found. Young-jun at the same time was observing the surroundings and noticed that the defenses around the ammunition depot had been fortified. He also glanced at the faces of the armies and saw that all the armies were exhausted. There were also people in a different uniform, but what was most important for him is they were gathered here together. As he was walking, the system prompted him to notify that he had acquired Preparing Primates Enlightenment, a novice secret for preparing primates. Young-jun was closely staring at it and was thinking about what preparing primates means. He glanced at the people inside the depot and concluded that the system might be referring to these people. At this moment, one army asked him to come inside to report. Young-jun was confused about what report he should do. And also, he realized that not all the armies with him could see the window. Lieutenant Kim is currently in command here. The top officers from each department are gathered for a meeting. Upon hearing about your survival, Sergeant Shin, he immediately ordered you to be brought it. The army stated. 2 armies are guarding the entrance, and Young-jun immediately walks inside while the army instructs him that there is a door to the left once he enters. While heading his way, he wondered if Lieutenant Kim was the only officer left. A part of him also believes that monsters probably won't only attack soldiers. Upon entering, he instantly saw the door of Lieutenant Kim. Sergeant Shin Young-jun. They said you were looking for me, he said. There were several soldiers inside the room, and all of them were sorrowful. Oh, Shin Young-jun, you're alive. It seems like we're in big trouble, Lieutenant Kim Hyun-seok stated. Lieutenant Kim asked him to sit down wherever he was comfortable, as there was something they needed to talk about. Young-jun follows what he says, and the moment he sits down, Lieutenant Kim explains that there are still quite a few survivors in the area. He was holding a list, and while he was talking, Young-jun was staring with anger at him, knowing that Lieutenant Kim was a dirty, greedy, and low-level officer. While staring at Lieutenant Kim, he recalled the time when Kim Hyun-seok refused to eat the food he prepared for everyone and chose to eat at the next meal. There were also times when Kim Hyun-seok personally went to the kitchen and ordered him to cook a past for his own craving, despite that it was already late hours. This time, he cannot believe that this greedy man is now the commander-in-chief of everyone, including him. Everyone inside joined the discussion, and one soldier mentioned that the head of staff, Jun Kyo, was already dead. Lieutenant Kim asked about the whereabouts of the head of the transportation team, but the 2 armies didn't give any response at all, and only the most sane soldiers were here inside with him. Young-jun was just silent and concluded that half of the soldiers here were not good enough for this kind of situation. Sergeant Park is not in his right mind right now, so I'm here in his place, another soldier who's newly came stated. Lieutenant Kim checked the list again and found out that only 7 survivors were left in the scouting unit, 10 survivors in the transportation unit, and only one in the culinary unit. At this moment, the overall total of the survivors is 100 men, and almost half of the battalion are casualties. One soldier asked to take a look at the list of survivors. He said that he checked with his superior before coming here, and looks like they've lost contact with the rest of the world. He is Sergeant Min-yi, belongs to the communication unit. According to him, all regular phones are out of service, and the emergency contact network is also down. TV, radio, intranet, and even military frequencies. He has tried every means of communication he can think of, but they all seem to be disconnected. As expected, Lieutenant Kim was annoyed upon hearing it, knowing that communication is very important. Young-jun was still staring at him and heard the armies still discussing inside, and worried that they could not get in touch with the outside world. One army asked if North Korea set off an EMP, and someone answered no, and added that the military has shields to keep them safe from EMPs. Some of them were terrified, thinking that they might all die here without getting any rescue from the outside world. They were all worried about their families, and they asked Lieutenant Kim about what else they should do now. Young-jun at the same time feels how anxious these soldiers are. He believes that when the goal of what needs to be done is clearly established, the soldiers' anxiety will be reduced a bit. A commander who can organize this mess and give calm instructions, as the only officer in charge right now, everyone is waiting for his decision. Lieutenant Kim was stuttering while everyone was waiting for his plans and decision. It has taken a few hours already, but Lieutenant Kim hasn't spoken yet, which rattles everyone and concludes that Lieutenant Kim doesn't know what to do. In the end, most of the armies inside were mad after Lieutenant Kim didn't give them any plans and protocol. Even Young-jun's head hurts a little while listening to the angry voices of the armies. You said you lost contact, right? Then why don't we just send a few soldiers to the upper units and try to contact them? We'll have to get orders from the higher-ups before we can do anything, Lieutenant Kim stated. Everyone was just silent after hearing his suggestion. But this time, Young-jun interfered by telling him that his suggestion would be dangerous. Lieutenant Kim was confused as to why, and as per Young-jun, the higher-ups were in the high mountains at 1,400 meters above sea level. He believes that even if they were to drive out, it would take them too long to get there. They need 2 hours to reach the upper troops. Young-jun was about to say more, but the soldiers were murmuring and agreed that staying here is much better. At the same time, Lieutenant Kim was annoyed, and he said that even if it's dangerous to send a few soldiers to the upper units, they still need to do it since it is necessary. Now, he decided to pick some volunteers and go. The soldiers were trembling in fear that they might be picked by Lieutenant Kim, while Young-jun was mad to hear that Lieutenant Kim wanted to push through even if it was dangerous. Young-jun believes that Lieutenant Kim doesn't want to be in command, and if Lieutenant Kim makes the wrong choice in this situation, he'll have to deal with the consequences. He believes that Lieutenant Kim is just trying to avoid responsibility by saying he needs to take orders from the higher-ups. He knows that the situation they have right now is difficult. But for him, Lieutenant Kim's attitude is not the attitude of a commander. He was so mad as he was expecting more from Lieutenant Kim, but it turned out that Lieutenant Kim was willing to sacrifice other armies. If anyone else doesn't like it, do you have a better idea? Lieutenant Kim asked while raising his one hand. Since no one answered because they believes that don't have any other alternatives, Lieutenant Kim then said that they should now get some volunteers. He believes that all of them now agree, and he declares that the remaining soldiers will remain with the unit until they can contact the higher-ups. Young-jun and Min-yi were both mad while staring at Lieutenant Kim, but they didn't dare to speak at all. Before picking some volunteers, Lieutenant Kim asked Young-jun about how much food they had left. According to Young-jun, they have about 5 days of basic rations and 6 weeks of emergency rations. Considering their reduced numbers, he'd say it's about 2 months' worth. Lieutenant Kim also wants to know about ammunition, and the soldier he asked answered that they had used up all their training ammunition last week, so they only have combat ammunition in reserve. It's not a small amount, but it'll be bad without additional supplies since their enemy this time is monsters after all. After checking the food and ammunition, there was a lot of talk on how to deal with the remaining monsters in the base, and about electricity and water. Still, the goal of waiting for the higher-ups to contact them was set. Young-jun senses that the soldiers seemed to have somewhat calmed down. While they were discussing, Lieutenant Kim took note of everything. Go and tell the other troops, Lieutenant Kim said, which annoyed Young-jun as he was expecting that there was another discussion they needed to talk about, and this was the most important thing he was waiting for. Aren't we going to discuss the awakening? He asked, but everyone was confused and asked him what he was talking about. Young-jun reminds them all that they plan to hunt monsters, but as per Lieutenant Kim, they will be hunting with their guns. Young-jun was puzzled and concluded that he might be the only one who awakened among them all. He grabbed his knife and told everyone that he had something to show them. Lieutenant Kim was mad about why he needed to point the knife to them, and they even thought that Young-jun was planning to stab someone. The knife still has the blood of the monster he killed a while ago. He was planning to let Lieutenant Kim talk about what he wanted, as he believed that it would only make Lieutenant Kim sound like a lunatic. He was planning to chop the table in front of him. He believes that he can easily chop it in an instant with just the knife, as he also stabbed monsters to death with it. He started swinging the knife and there was a sensation coming out on the wood. The wood table was divided into 4 and everyone was surprised upon seeing it. They were all confused about how Young-jun chopped the table, like was he just cutting paper. Young-jun opened the system window and answered that after killing the monsters that entered the kitchen, this became possible after undergoing an awakening. Everyone was dumbfounded after hearing from Young-jun that he killed a monster and awakened. Young-jun explains to them that it was hard for him to also believe it at first, but he was hoping that the soldiers inside would believe him after seeing how he easily chopped the wooden table. He doesn't know how he survived at first, but now he's in a situation where he wouldn't be surprised if he died at any time. They will never know when they're going to run out of ammo and food. The number of monsters is also unknown. At this time, Young-jun had 3 days left before his vacation, but now he was thinking that he might die in this place. However, he was eager to remain alive, get out of here in one piece, and open his own restaurant. In order to survive, he has to feed this bunch of armies. Now, he concludes that his first priority is to feed everyone. Young-jun checked the system and remembered again that he needed to create a faction or join a faction. Upon seeing it, he was planning to awaken the entire battalion. All of a sudden, they heard a loud bang coming from the room's entrance. One fat army came and said that they were not in trouble since monsters were coming. Lieutenant Kim and the armies with him were nervous and he asked how many monsters coming. The army told him that it might be about 5 monsters, but they were not all certain. Just as they were wrapping up the meeting, monsters showed up again. Everyone immediately stood while Lieutenant Kim commanded them to return to their position and prepare for battle. Young-jun ran as fast as he could, and a part of him was irritated thinking why monsters were coming at times like this. As he went outside, he saw armies start shooting the monsters. The monster that was shot was screaming in agony but wasn't killed instantly. Luckily, these monsters only came to where there were people. The armies aiming at the monsters stated that it almost seems like it takes a full magazine to kill one monster. Conserve your ammo. Aim as high as you can, the other soldier ordered. They continuously aimed at them and were glad that at least the shots still hurt the monster. At the same time, Young-jun was holding a gun and concluded that it needed 20 to 30 shots for one monster to be killed. By this, he believes that there's no way they'll have enough bullets after those 10 monsters attacked today. They said they could hold out for now, but without more supplies, he can say that they'll run out soon enough. After killing the monsters that tried to attack them, the commander-in-chief ordered everyone to clear the area and set up a perimeter, then check for injuries. He also ordered the seniors to take a head count of their men and report back to him. Meanwhile, checking is done and there are 2 casualties from the last attack of monsters. What do we do with their bodies? Young-jun asked, and the soldier in front of him answered that there was a cemetery they'd made behind the unit. Most of the corpses will be put into body bags for burial. While they were taking, the commander ordered them to hurry up. And with that, the battle with the monsters was over for the day. Things discussed in the meeting began to be implemented. First, send a support request to the higher unit and await contact. One volunteer army said that he know a place where a healthy retreat is available. In addition, they have enough fuel, and as long as they don't encounter any monsters, they'll be safe. They have also stocked up on ammunition. Since everything has been settled, Lieutenant Kim informed them that he will give both men a cover until they can get the next batch of troops out. Young-jun disagreed with this decision of Lieutenant Kim, but he remained silent. Now, he was planning to talk about how to increase the number of awakened. He was observing the armies and overheard some who wondered why they didn't awaken like him if they were able to kill a monster. Some answered that it might be because they killed the monster using guns. What? No guns? Scouting Sergeant T-jun said, motivated by Shin Young-jun. They then realized that it might be because Young-jun killed the monster himself, which is why he awakened, while they shot it from a distance so it couldn't get close. That is the only difference between them and Young-jun. I also think so, Young-jun said. He concludes that there must have been some kind of energy inside the armies when they killed it, and maybe the monster releases energy when it dies and they have to be close to it to absorb it. Lieutenant Kim was annoyed thinking that they had to come face to face with the monster to awaken. They asked lots of questions to Young-jun and he informed them that he poured boiling oil on the monster and the skin came off and took advantage of it to finally kill it. Anyway, that means you have to get close, isn't that almost suicidal? Lieutenant Kim said. Tae-jun said that it's easy to kill with a few bullets if they can see that it's in some pain and losing strength. He suggested that one of them should go over and kill the monster just before it's about to die. And also remember to strike at its weakness. Lieutenant Kim added that they're gonna have to take out the monster with a bayonet. And he concludes that they might get the maintenance crew to sharpen the bayonet with a grinder. Tae-jun agreed, knowing that a bayonet would be safer than a sashimi knife since the sword's reach is greater. Young-jun believes that it's a methodical approach. Since Tae-jun is definitely a scout, Young-jun believes that Tae-jun might be weaker in actual combat. However, he feels that Tae-jun has a very strategic mind. He pulled Tae-jun's shoulder and declared that Tae-jun would take care of the kitchen side so he could go and cook some meals for them to eat. The soldier was annoyed hearing from him that he would eat peacefully in this kind of situation. But then, for Young-jun, in this situation, they should eat better. He doesn't know about now, but he believes that he'll be hungry soon. Lunch is gone, and I've got to get dinner ready, he said, and he also asked for approval from Lieutenant Kim. Yes, we need to eat so we can fight. I'll give you 2 soldiers, Lieutenant Kim replied. Young-jun then said that they would eat at 7 and take turns. Before that, he wants all troops to be informed about the awakening. On the other hand, soldiers who were assigned to report to the higher-ups were not heading their way using only one vehicle. Young-jun already went to the kitchen and started to chop the ingredients. This time, the whole process of cooking feels relaxing for him, not laborious, and he concludes that it might be the power of the novice cooking skills. He was wondering how to cook by himself, but because of his novice skill, he doesn't have any problem at all. After a few minutes, the novice chef's stir-fried pork belly is complete. Excellent temperature control increases Young-jun's stats. His sincerity has advanced to moderate and his cooking stats will have a slight increase. Upon checking the system, he found out that consuming a novice chef's stir-fried pork belly will increase strength and agility by 1 for a moderate period of time. But he doesn't know if it's 1 strength and 1 agility. He also had an option to add the skill chef's special sauce. At this moment, he felt a strange energy in his hands. He was staring at it with a rattled face and discovered that by using this ability, he can control the emotions of those who is cooking to some extent. He knows that everyone is panicking and trembling in fear. He was hoping that the food he was cooking make the armies feel a little more comfortable. This time, he decided to add the chef's special sauce for comfort, and the system popped up to show that his meal is now the stir-fried pork belly from a novice chef with a relaxed heart, and whoever eat this food will be a little more relaxed. Now, let's eat, Young-jun declared. He called all the armies, and the armies immediately lined up to get some meal that he freshly cooked. While everyone was getting a moderate portion, he was waiting to see if the special chef sauce would work. Luckily, the armies were happy after swallowing their meal. They were enjoying it, and they even commented that the food for today was very delicious. You made this all by yourself, Sergeant Shin? One army asked. It's not like it's going to make their muscles bigger or give them a 6-pack or anything. Young-jun can tell from the way it looks if it works. He was wondering if the chef's sauce was a bad skill. He was just silent while staring at the armies, and one army went to him to give thanks for the food he prepared. The monster had made my head hurt and sensitive, but I feel better now that I'm full, other soldiers said, and everyone agreed with him and even asked for more portions. Young-jun was glad as he felt that the skill he used was really working. He wasn't sure about the stats yet, but he concluded that it might be a good ability to manage the army's minds like this. While eating, the alarm suddenly rang, a sign that there was someone attacking them. Upon hearing the noise, Young-jun was annoyed knowing that these monsters didn't even give him a break. Still, he runs gong outside the kitchen. It was already evening. Young-jun was running as fast as he could together with the other soldiers heading to the barracks. While running, they noticed that the gunfire had ceased, so Young-jun concluded that everything might be okay now. Everyone was outside, holding their guns. Young-jun asked what happened, but nobody responded. Then he noticed Tae-jun, so he called Tae-jun's name, and Tae-jun was surprised to see him personally come instead of staying in the kitchen. Other than Tae-jun, Minnie was also outside, so Young-jun asked him what just happened. Minnie then answered that they saw a monster, so they chased after it. Like you said, we need to hurry and awaken. Tae-jun added. There is a monster in the area but was already wounded. Young-jun was closely staring at it while Minnie prepared his weapon and said that he would now be going to stab it, hoping that he would awaken. Before he could kill the monster, Young-jun asked both men to have a private talk. He told them that the soldiers who were at the meeting earlier should awaken first. Tae-jun wondered why, so Young-jun explained that those grunts wouldn't get it if they told them to approach the monsters without guns, all to have some kind of awakening. He thinks that it's better if they awaken first and show that it's not dangerous. Tae-jun agreed with him and added that they couldn't get the troops together for a table-slicing show every time. At the present time, Minnie had stabbed the monster and a blind appeared in the system window to congratulate him for his awakening. Lee Minnie's job is a novice mage level 1 with 7 points strength, 10 points agility, 15 points magic, and 12 points luck. His current trait is novice electric affinity, and he only has one skill, which is thunder. Minnie was surprised to see the status window while the armies with him were curious to know what he could see in front of him. At the same time, Young-jun was glad that it worked and asked Minnie if the system window really popped up in front of him. Minnie slightly smiled and uttered that being awakened felt good. He activates his thunder skill while stating that Young-jun was right for saying that he can feel strange energy flowing through his body once he awakens. Now, Young-jun confirmed that the awakening to Minnie was successful, and he cannot believe he has the ability to visually confirm it. Minnie was impressed with the glow in his hands and he walked toward Young-jun to say that his job is a novice mage with a novice electric affinity and a thunder skill. Hey, you were the first to awaken, remember? He asked to Young-jun. And this time, Young-jun discovered that the job they can get is determined by their talent. What's more important now is they finally confirm that they can be awakened by killing a monster up close. Everyone didn't believe it at first, but seeing it firsthand changed everything. Since there are 2 monsters and one remains alive, Tae-jun declares that he will kill the last monster to awaken. Minnie motivates him to do it while Young-jun asks him to be careful. Before Tae-jun could kill the monster, Young-jun commanded everyone to pay attention. Tae-jun walked toward the monster and he was a little bit scared knowing that the monster wasn't dead yet. The monster suddenly growled and was moving, which made Tae-jun nervous. Hey, stay still. I'll be done for a minute, he uttered while preparing his weapon. He stomped at the monster's chest, but unfortunately, before he could stab it, the monster's eyes blinked, causing Tae-jun to be startled and screamed. The monster roared loudly and Tae-jun was scared. The monster attacked him, causing him to scream so loud, and Young-jun and Minnie were worried for him. The monster bit Tae-jun's foot and his blood was dripping. Tae-jun was full of anger toward the monster, but he could not fight back because of the pain. The monster's eyes sparkled once again, and at the same time, Minnie asked Young-jun to save Tae-jun. Do you want me to shoot? Give me the order and I'll shoot right away, one soldier behind said. But then, Young-jun stops everyone from shooting as he wants Tae-jun to kill the monster himself. Tae-jun, what are you doing? Finish it off, he screamed, and Tae-jun was moaning in pain and his tears started to fall because of agony. He grips into his weapon and he is now eager to kill the monster with his own hand and not to let it leave. He was screaming once more the moment he stabbed the monster. The monster fell to the ground and vomited blood while Tae-jun was still able to stand. Young-jun and the other soldier were waiting for what will happen next. Tae-jun kneeled on the ground while holding his weapon and was panting heavily. He closed his eyes the moment he saw something blinking. The system window then popped up and declared that he finally awakened. Park Tae-jun is a novice astronomer currently level 1 with 5 points strength, 9 points agility, 12 points magic, and 20 points luck. But then, his talent and skills are unknown. At this time, he was still kneeling in front of the dead monsters and the armies were worried for him, so Young-jun ordered to call a medic, but unluckily, their medic was only a physical therapist and could not handle this kind of treatment. Despite that Tae-jun was in pain, he was still glad to inform Young-jun that he also got a system window. Well done, you almost made my chest heave and flip over, Young-jun replied. He then assisted Tae-jun to walk, and Tae-jun said that the monster's bite wasn't very strong, so his leg wasn't gnawed off. While Young-jun was assisting him, everyone was just looking at them. And with that, the commotion was over. Tae-jun and Minyu became awakened. An army that could fight monsters without bullets was beginning to form. The problem is, the soldiers in the field spread the awakening process, causing pandemonium in the ammunition depot, though there would be other senior officers who would refuse to attempt to awaken. One example of them is Kwang Il-jeon, as he was afraid, thinking that he would be killed by the monster. Hey, you think me and Tae-jun weren't scared? The only thing I had killed before this was a mosquito, Minyi said with annoyance. He slammed his hand at the corner behind his Kwang Il and asked him if he did not understand their situation right now. He screamed that they, as superiors, have to set an example for the people under their command. Kwang Il was nervous as he answered that even if he wanted to, he could not still do it. No matter what you say, I can't do it. There's no way you can guarantee that kind of accident won't happen to me. You could have gotten hurt much worse, he added. The other soldiers with them were gossiping about him, saying that he was the ace of the facilities unit and was an expert. They all cannot believe that he is scared and can't do anything that requires him to go up high. Young-jun at the same time doesn't want more people to reject the awakening because of Kwang-il's fear. But in the end, Min-yi let Kwang-il do what he wants and just walks away. But he reminded Kwang-il not to think about being treated like a superior in the future if he now refuses to awaken himself. Being here for longer doesn't make you a superior, he added. He also told everyone that being a leader is an important rule and that the leader they need right now is an awakened one. You rejected that, so you'll have to live with it, he said to Kwang-il. Young-jun doesn't interfere because, for him, Min-yi was right after all. He also believes that there's no way Kwang-il can be a leader on the battlefield after this. Everyone started leaving while Kwang-il answered that he understood Min-yi's statement. Young-jun was just standing still while staring at Kwang-il, thinking that they could not let Kwang-il refuse to awaken as he was afraid that the other soldiers would be affected. He immediately approached Min-yi to ask for a few minutes to talk. Min-yi permitted him to speak, but before he could say anything, he asked Kwang-il to go back to his position for now. Yes, sir, Kwang-il answered. He then grabbed Min-yi's hand and asked him to follow. Everyone went back to their respective room while Young-jun and Min-yi were inside a room where no one was around. Brother, I understand your anger, but it can't end like this, he said. I know, but what more can I do? Min-yi asked. And as per Young-jun, this problem is not just one person's problem. He means to say that it'll affect the whole battalion. He believes that there are a lot of guys thinking about deserting now. But for him, Min-yi, there's a monster out there so they have a reason to. Right now, it's been a while since the incident, so it's safe to say some are gonna start to get a mental breakdown soon. Young-jun stated, and Min-yi reminded him that they were in the middle of the mountains, and it was an hour's drive to get down from here. In addition, they were safer from the monsters if they stayed in groups. Young-jun agreed and said that it was the reason why no deserters had left so far. But at the same time, he senses that lots of people want to leave to check if their families are alive. He concludes that for them to survive, they needed to make their troops stronger. And when that happens, he was sure that no one would think about running away because they'd feel it is more safe in this area with them. Min-yi agreed, but he was worried knowing that Kwang-il isn't the only one who's afraid. And if there's a case where even one person gets away with it, there's gonna be a lot of kids carrying that they can't do it. And there could be conflict with the awakened soldiers. Min-yi held his head as he could not understand how complicated the situation was right now. As per Young-jun, that kind of discord will eventually lead to division and weaken the unit. For the awakening, refusing is unacceptable, he proclaimed. Min-yi then asked him how he could convince Kwang-il as it was humiliating enough to be disrespected a while ago by Kwang-il. Young-jun said that he had an idea, but he was asking for a little bit more time to think about Kwang-il's situation. Do you really think it's possible? I can see that you are determined, but it won't be easy, Min-yi said, and Young-jun answered, I'll try my best. He then walked away while Min-yi was staring at him leaving. Young-jun ran as fast as he could while thinking that he could ditch his unit and run if he had a different job in his awakening. But the fact is, he was just a level 1 novice chef, basically a supporter who can't fight for itself. To utilize his skills to the max, he must cook better. He doesn't want this unit to be hopeless, so he's going to make it as strong as possible. He went to the kitchen and wrapped the apron on his lower body. He was staring at the kitchen knife while telling himself that he would turn Kwang-il into a real soldier. Young-jun started to cook and decided to make a simple meal with some fried rice for Kwang-il. He was chopping an onion and carrots, then putting them together in the pan. The quality of the main ingredient, the meat, is not that good. The stats of the dish will be slightly reduced. The quality of the auxiliary ingredient, the seasoning, is excellent. The stats of the dish will be slightly increased. The dish is made for a specific audience. If the target audience eats the dish, it'll have a boost in its effects. He also put a special sauce skill to his fried rice. It can change the emotions of the person who consumes the food. After a few minutes, Young-jun thinks that his recipe is finally done. He then ordered someone to look for Kwang-il to ask him to go to the cafeteria. Meanwhile, Kwang-il immediately came to the cafeteria as what Young-jun ordered. Young-jun then put the bowl of fried rice on the table in front of Kwang-il. As expected, Kwang-il was surprised and asked what the food was for. Young-jun didn't give him a direct answer, but instead told him to just eat. You almost never come to eat. I know you must be hungry, so eat it. It's good, he added. Kwang-il felt touché with Young-jun's kindness. He glanced at the fried rice in front of him and told Young-jun that he would not eat it. He then grabbed the spoon and got a right portion of the fried rice. Young-jun smiled while staring at him eating the food, knowing that this recipe was a novice chef's chicken fried rice of courage. The power to overcome fear is courage, and he tried his best to make this fried rice as good as possible. At this time, Kwang-il ate a large amount of the fried rice and acknowledged the taste of it. Young-jun just let him eat peacefully and started the discussion about awakening after Kwang-il was full. After Kwang-il had done his meal, Young-jun started the discussion, and up until this time, Kwang-il admitted the fact that he was scared and he apologized for it. Young-jun was sitting in front of him, and Kwang-il explained that he had been like this since he was a kid, and he had always been told to act like a man. Young-jun was very serious listening to him and letting him say everything that he wanted to say. Kwang-il added that he was told that working out would make him feel more confident, so he started working out and doing martial arts. But it didn't fix him at all. This time, Young-jun widely realized Kwang-il's side and he sensed that Kwang-il had a hard time with his personality. As per Kwang-il, he tried to take on extra jobs because he didn't want to be an inconvenience to others. He thought he was lucky that people finally recognized him, but he never thought something like that would happen. Sergeant Shi, you fought a monster even after seeing your comrades killed by it. He added. Young-jun honestly told him that he was also scared the moment he killed the monster to survive. After hearing it, Kwang-il becomes silent. Young-jun then told him that if they did nothing, they would just become food for those monsters. He admitted that in his case, he mustered up the courage because it killed his comrades. It was only for a short time, but he thinks his survival instinct is what really drove him to kill the monster. He clenched his fist and stated that he was in his prime and that it was not fair for him to die in this place. He widely smiled and let Kwang-il know that he still wanted to leave, go out in this place, and open a restaurant. With his explanation, Kwang-il was amazed with his eagerness despite of the circumstances. As per Young-jun, it took a lot of courage on his part, but he knew that his judgment and decisions had brought him this far. And now, he wants to survive along with everyone. And the other veterans want the same. At this moment, Kwang-il suddenly stood and slammed the table with his hands while saying that he should also want to try after hearing about Young-jun's actions. He suddenly has a strange feeling of confidence. At the same time, Young-jun was wondering if the fried rice he cooked worked on Kwang-il, as he could see right now a different look in the eyes of Kwang-il. Kwang-il's eyes were blazing and he declared that the next monster would be his target to awaken and he wanted to finish it off with his own hand. The next day, the time was great since there was another monster came to the soldiers' barracks. As expected, Kwang-il attacked it without bringing any weapons. He even told everyone not to come closer as he didn't need anyone's help. The opportunity to test my courage has come, he uttered while continuously punching the monster. Young-jun, Min-yi, and the others were surprised to see this determination of Kwang-il. He's gone insane. What's wrong with him? The monster hasn't even fainted, and he's attacking it with his bare hands, Min-yi stated. He also asked what Young-jun did to Kwang-il to act like this, and even Young-jun was speechless and believed that Kwang-il was now being a bit too aggressive. Kwang-il might get severely injured since he was barehanded while fighting the monster, and if it happens, Min-yi decided to step in. The monster at this moment was growling in anger. He swung his arm, planning to attack Kwang-il using its long sharp nails. But Kwang-il was aware of this monster's movement, and immediately used his arm and deflected the monster's attack. He screamed so loud out of anger, and seeing him easily avoid the monster's attack made everyone amazed at him and cheer for his victory. They can now also see that Kwang-il is much more stronger than the monster. I can't wait to see what kind of abilities he'll have when he awakens, Min-yi said. And Young-jun answered that he was glad that Kwang-il was doing well. And since Kwang-il was barehanded, they were planning to throw him a knife. Since they were both talking, someone disturbed them and pointed in Kwang-il's direction. Kwang-il fearlessly bites the monster, causing the monster's skin to be wounded and dripping its blood. Kwang-il spit out the monster's blood, and at the same time, everyone was shocked to see him bite the monster. They were all confused about what Kwang-il was trying to do, and they could not believe that the guy who was whining about being scared was now brave. Young-jun was worried, thinking that he may have put too much special sauce. He never thought his cooking would work so well. Young-jun was so distracted without knowing that the monster Kwang-il was fighting had suffered severe injuries after Kwang-il stoned it. Since there is a big change in Kwang-il's behavior, Min-yi is asking Young-jun to stop Kwang-il. Kwang-il continuously attacked the monster with a stone, and everyone watching him was terrified of his action. Kwang-il stabbed it with a stone for the last time, and at this point, the monster finally died. A blink then appeared which surprised Kwang-il, and the system window congratulated him for his awakening. He let go of the stone and was standing still in front of the monster he killed. He suddenly guffaws and declares that he has successfully awakened as he sees a blue system panel in front of him. Everyone was glad and was cheering for him. They also acknowledged him for fighting barehandedly without any fear. Kwang-il smiled while panting, and he was glad that he finally made it. He gave thanks to Young-jun, which made Min-yi and the others confused. They all then asked what Young-jun did to Kwang-il, but Kwang-il only scratched his head and didn't give any answer. But he told himself to be careful with the amount of the chef's special sauce next time. After Kwang-il awakened, the other armies were busy discussing each of their perspectives. At the same time, Min-yi asked Young-jun about what he did to Kwang-il to act harshly against the monster. Young-jun then casually answered that he only made some food for Kwang-il and privately talked together. Min-yi was surprised as he concluded that Young-jun had a talent for persuasion. And as per Young-jun, that is how the human heart works. So we just talk to them and everything will be fine. You can't ignore the power of listening, Min-yi said. Young-jun just nodded and smiled, and Min-yi stated that persuading someone isn't easy. Young-jun was just silent as he agreed with Min-yi. It doesn't make sense for him at all, but he was grateful for the effectiveness of his skills, but he cannot reveal it yet as it's different from the table slicing he showed to the armies. After seeing Kwang-il today, he can sense that Kwang-il actually has a pretty scary side. But he believes this time that it was only a temporary personality change. He also concludes that his ability could prove dangerous if he used the wrong way. And for him, Kwang-il is a berserker, and it's a bit dangerous to become more powerful in exchange for losing their reason. Well, survival is at stake, so it's a good thing in the end, Min-yi said, and Young-jun then answered that what he said was true. After talking about Kwang-il, Young-jun then asked Min-yi to send the kids to him whose turn to awaken in the future because he wanted to give their co-armies some special food first before letting them kill a monster. Can we? It's not like we have a lot of food, Min-yi answered. According to Young-jun, most of what's left is preserved food for emergencies. The rest of the food must be consumed quickly before it rots, and they have to eat a lot if they don't want any of it to rot. After explaining, Min-yi then understood, and Young-jun told him that he was counting down the days until he could eat a proper meal. At the same time, he was also thinking that emergency and combat rations don't really have a cooking process, and he wondered if he could utilize his skills in it. A few days later, another monster attacked and was running fast inside the soldiers' barracks. The armies hold their guns while chasing the monster, and there are times they miss because of the fast movement of the monster. But then, with their cooperation, they were able to shoot it. At this time, there were bound to be a few exceptions, but overall, the awakening went smoothly. At the present time, the monster was unexpectedly killed because of the numerous bullets aimed at it. Min-yi scolded the soldiers, knowing that it was another failure for them since they shouldn't kill the monster using guns. But instead, one soldier should only attack it barehanded or use a melee weapon to awaken. This time, Young-jun can tell that the awakening is not smooth since they failed. Their biggest problem is that it's not easy to get the monster in close enough to let someone land the final blow. They just have too much resilience. Most of the monsters will rage until they're about to die, making them unapproachable. Awakening must be done safely, and they can't help but slow. After killing one monster, another monster appeared after just a few hours. Everyone was aiming at it and was careful this time not to kill it. They chased the monster up to the forest and found it wounded and too weak. Hey, nice job. Now we just need someone to finish it off, Min-yi stated. He asked the soldiers who were next in line to be awakened, and staring at the soldiers, a part of them were really afraid to kill the monster alone. Young-jun then answered that the next to awaken was Soo-hyun from the transportation unit. Soo-hyuk was startled upon hearing his name, but he didn't dare to refuse. He then walked toward the monster while Min-yi advised him to target the monster's armpit. Soo-hyun was confident and said that he had been practicing a lot for this. Young-jun is cheering for him and motivates him to make sure that he will succeed in his awakening. When Soo-hyun got near the monster, he gulped as he felt nervous. Without any hesitation, he stabbed the monster's chest and pushed deeply the weapon he was holding. Because of it, the monster instantly died and a blink appeared. Together with it is the system window, showing that Soo-hyun finally awakened with the job marksman. Everyone was cheering for him while Young-jun was thinking if a marksman job is like a sniper. At this moment, multiple windows appeared which rattled Soo-hyun. He then screamed the moment he saw something. He then informed Young-jun that there is a strange phrase just popped up. It is said that the faction is forming. The system window of Young-jun and Min-yi also appeared to notify that they have formed a faction with 5 players, which is the minimum amount. They were so confused about the meaning of this faction. It also appeared that the large region is the 3rd faction in the rock while the small region is the 1st faction in the rock. Everyone was dumbfounded, and even Young-jun himself didn't get what the messages were talking about. He was so clueless since these things happened in an instant as soon as Soo-hyun succeeded in awakening. It turned out that the same window appeared for all 5 awakeners. The system stated that they had succeeded in forming a faction faster than the majority, and a special reward will be given. It is a 3rd place reward, which is an elixir of growth 10 times. With this elixir, their experience gain will increase by 500% for a limited time. Since everyone was clueless, Young-jun decided to gather the awakened and have an emergency meeting. while the unawakened soldiers should go back inside the depot. The 5 awakened went to a storage room together, and as per Min-yi, their status right now is getting more and more like a game. That's right, a faction. I guess the condition was 5 awakened, Soo-hyun stated. At the same time, Young-jun was thinking that if the message was true, they could advance faster with the elixir. I'm more concerned about the phrase third place. If we're third, doesn't that mean there's a first and second? Doesn't that mean there are monsters outside of our region? Kwang-il stated. Min-yi thought that Kwang-il might be right, and because of it, they were all worried for the sake of their families outside. While they were discussing, Young-jun remained silent. He believes that everyone's minds are filled with their families who might have been swept away by the monsters. This time, he spoke to tell everyone not to think about their families for now. He said that he was more worried about the situation outside. But for him, they have to make sure they're safe first before anything else. I don't know, but it means we're ahead of the others in the game. So, we should think about our safety first. For now, let's just focus on that. He added. Min-yi was silent for a few seconds, but in the end, he agreed to what Young-jun said. And as for him, only if they survive can they find and save their families. Kwang-il then mentioned that they have over 100 surviving troops and only 5 faction members, so he was thinking that it might meant to say that only the awakened count. Yeah, we need to awaken more people, but it's annoying. Min-yi answered. Young-jun agreed with him, and now he proclaimed that the world had suddenly changed, like if they were not awakened. They wouldn't even count as a human. Kwang-il then recalled the job that Soo-hyun got, which is a marksman, and he concluded that it must have reflected in the marksmanship of Soo-hyun since he is famous for it. He asked about the trait of Soo-hyun, and he stated that his accuracy and power are enhanced when he shoots. When shooting, is it that good? I'm worried in case we might run out of bullets, Min-yi said, but Soo-hyun smiled and told him not to worry about it. He explains that if a normal soldier needs 10 shots, he only needs 2. Young-jun was glad knowing that it would definitely help them use fewer bullets. And with Soo-hyun's ability, he believes they'll be able to take down monsters much easier. Min-yi agreed and assigned Soo-hyun to be in charge of subduing the monsters going forward. Soo-hyun didn't refuse, and Min-yi was glad, thinking that they can be relaxed for now. There are only 5 of them in the faction, so for Young-jun, there's no time to sit back and be discouraged. To survive, they must move forward and continue to awaken the others. He was thankful that most soldiers were up for the awakening without much complaint, though some were still refusing, trembling with fear. Every time there's a scared soldier, Young-jun always asks them to calm down and invites them to eat and have a talk. Min-yi knows Young-jun's way of persuading the soldier, and it makes him annoyed without any reason why. After persuading a soldier and letting them eat the food he always prepared, the soldier changes in an instant and becomes eager to awaken. Min-yi was observing Young-jun's actions every time there was a soldier who was afraid to end a monster's life alone. Calm down, relax, just come with me. This is what he usually said to the soldiers, and as expected, Min-yi is annoyed once again as he felt something suspicious. The soldier he persuades this time becomes so reckless, so Min-yi decides to ask for a little bit of time from Young-jun to ask something. Young-jun accepted his invitation, and he wondered why Min-yi invited him to have a private talk all of a sudden. You're hiding something, some kind of power we don't know about. Every time you take a soldier for a little talk, they come back braver and stronger, Min-yi said. This time, Young-jun panicked knowing that Min-yi got him. It's just that, I had to do it for the sake of the battalion's unity, he said. He cannot keep hiding it, so he decides to let Min-yi know about his ability. Fortunately, Min-yi understood him and focused on awakening the troops, while he decided to focus on cooking. While he was cooking, the system window appeared to show his personal information. One thing he noticed is he suddenly has 82 points. He wondered how it happened, as he thought it only went up when he hunted monsters or cooked well. He was staring at his current points and concluded that he could use these. At this moment, he recalled that the points in games usually used to buy items in the store, so he was thinking that there might be something like a store in the system. He saw the point store and immediately opened it. A blink appeared and several windows popped up. He then instantly found it and realized that they can only do so much with their basic abilities. He regrets not thinking about it earlier, but this time, he seized the opportunity to find out what else he could do to his awakening. After the store, there were weapons on sale, like a combat axe that cost 30 points and a steel knife that also cost 30 points. He also found a rye bread that cost only 10 points, and after a minute of checking, he only found stuff for the combat class. But the thing he could only use is the rye bread. He checked the system further and discovered that he could boost his stat points, but it costs 1,000 points each. He can also avail of a random skill book that costs 3,000 points. He knows that it's too good to be true, but it makes him sad knowing that it was too expensive, which he cannot afford for now. At this point, he decided to check out the store again later since skills and traits are important, so he have to look at it next time. Currently, he was using the chef's special sauce and chef's eye well. At the same time, he saw the novice dagger proficiency and recalled that it's a skill that allows him to naturally master combat stances using a dagger. He spared with Kwangil the other day and was quite pleased with the results. He hasn't even tried fist fighting, let alone sword fighting. But at least he's pretty good with the dagger. If this was the feeling of a novice, he was curious about what the feeling of a master is like. In addition, there's a novice flame affinity, a skill that appeared when he accidentally grabbed a hot pot. He can hold flames in his hand for 30 seconds. This could prove really beneficial if he keeps practicing it. Last but not least, the most important skill for him, the novice cooking proficiency. He has been accumulating data ever since he confided in Minhwa, but he noticed that the stats like strength +3 that was attached to the finished dish were still there. That day, Minhwa told him that the dish he cooked tasted great and he must say, it was strangely energizing. And his stats in the status panel have increased. Young-jun was surprised after learning it since no one noticed the changes, and as per Minhwa, it might be because unawakened soldiers don't have a status window. Also, the effects of the dishes they eat don't seem to show up as a system message. It didn't tell him about the effects of his cooking at all, but he was sure the soldiers would recognize his abilities if they received a message. He asked Minhwa how he felt after eating the food he cooked, and as per Minhwa, his strength stat was 9 and it actually increased by 3. It's only an additional 30% on paper, but he feels much greater. At the present time, Young-jun was glad that the buffs to the food he cooked were definitely working. If Minhwa is right, at least in their situation, his chef skills aren't underperforming. If only this kind of buff could be applied to the entire battalion, he's willing to do it. While he was thinking, someone was heading to him and asked for his presence. This soldier was panicking while asking Young-jun to come to the ammo depot. Young-jun asked him what was going on and he said that a new type of monster appeared. The monster is completely different from those lizards. Young-jun immediately went to the meeting area. He was together with Minhwa and Minhwa was a little bit annoyed while asking about the new monster they mentioned that appeared. Well, I was keeping an eye on the area, and something I've never seen before caught my attention. The soldier who saw the monster answered. He added that the appearance of the new monster is completely different from the ones they have seen so far. He also handed the telescope to Minhwa and Young-jun, then pointed to the area where he found the monster a while ago. Minhwa and Young-jun used the telescope to search for the monster that their comrades mentioned. But then, they only saw a normal lizard. After a few minutes of searching, he saw some lizard monsters, but there was something different together with these lizards. It was a monster with purple tough skin. It was moving for Young-jun was sure that it was the monster their comrade mentioned. Its eyes were yellow, unlike the lizard monsters. Both Minhwa and Young-jun were terrified upon seeing it. They then put down the telescope while Young-jun declared that the monster was coming to them. According to him, that monster has to be over 3 meters long, and there are normal lizards around it, so he guessed the unknown one might be the boss. He feels weird after he discovers that monsters leave in groups and that the lizards that have attacked their troops have only ever traveled in groups of 1 or 2. Minhwa then concludes that the unknown monster came from somewhere else. He explains that there are more than 20 of the normal lizards following the purple one, and he believes that once these monsters come all at once, they have to use a lot of their bullets. But he doesn't think it'll be a problem since they have Soo-hyuk, whose job is a marksman. They were outnumbered since there were only 5 awakened, but luckily, they already knew the monster's weaknesses. But Young-jun feels that there's something off about this. He asked when the purple monster appeared and the soldier who guarded the barracks answered that it appeared this morning at dawn. Nothing abnormal. They just kept hovering around the perimeter. They didn't show any signs of attacks. He added. Minhwa thought that the monster had been spooked, while Young-jun wondered why the monster was not attacking if they were in such a big group right now. Young-jun was startled the moment he saw the monster coming. That must be it. They're waiting for an opening, he proclaimed. He also believes that these monster now knows that a normal raid won't work, which is why they're hovering near them, scouting the area. Do you think the monsters are that smart? Soo-hyun asked. Do you know how clever wolves are when they hunt? They're bipedal, so they must be smarter than wolves. Young-jun answered. Kwangil agreed with him and suggested to attack the monsters first. 3 of the awakened with him were shocked by his suggestion, while Young-jun declined his suggestion since they were at an advantage because they were just in their base. And if they went out, it would be their disadvantage. True, we can't go out. Let's just keep an eye on their movements. We'll take some time to strategize and report back to the company commander and see what he thinks. Minhwa said. Young-jun also asked him to tell all the men to be careful. He believes that once the news gets out, the troops will be afraid. In addition, they all have fear of an unknown enemy, so they need to reassure their troops so they don't become agitated. When the meal break came, Young-jun prepared food with a clam special sauce, and he called it Chef's Calming Bean Sprouts. At least the troops are in a place where the monsters can't reach them. Even if we go outside, there's a good chance there will be monsters anyway, Tae-jun said while eating. Hwang-il was beside him and said that it was better to stay inside. After a few days, the meal they have has a comfort special sauce which is called Chef's Comforting Octopus Kimchi. It was a little scary at first, but I think I got used to it after dealing with it for a while. I feel like I'm more relaxed too, one soldier said after eating. The next day, their food has Faith special sauce, which is called the Chef's Faith-inducing braised pork and vegetables. I'd be lying if I said I wasn't worried, but I believe in my family. I'm alive, so they must have survived somehow too, the soldier stated after a few minutes of eating the faith-inducing braised pork and vegetables. This time, Young-jun noticed that the morale of the soldiers remained high somehow, so the defense didn't split. The awakening was also successful, totaling 20. That's almost a fifth of the entire battalion. He went to the rooftop and asked the soldier guarding the barracks about the changes after a few days. The soldier then answered that the monster was still just hovering around the perimeter. There are more than twice as many of the monsters as when they first found them. The soldier guarding the area was nervous while wondering about what happened when there were over 100 of the monsters in total. We've gotten quite a few marksman awakenings, so we'll be fine, Young-jun answered. Out of the 20 or so awakened, 3 are marksmen. It is a crazy job to be able to accurately hit the target while firing a normal K2 burst rifle. Young-jun believes that they will not be defeated if they will counterattack. In addition, he was positive to win if they keep growing at this pace. Meanwhile, he went to the warehouse and observed that they had run out of troop rations the next week, and they'll have half as many awakened as they have people. At that point, he concludes that the troops should be running steadily without his buffs. He writes the inventory report on his note, but all of a sudden, the light turns off. He believes that there might be a power outage, but he cannot explain how it happened knowing that the maintenance unit said the generators were still fine. He also wondered if the entire base was affected by the power outage, but a part of him was worried thinking that the monsters might have made a move. He rattled upon thinking about it. He unintentionally threw his notes and ran outside the warehouse while carrying a gun. He felt a danger was happening and he admitted the fact that he said the marksman could handle the monsters, but that's a story limited to situations where the field of view is secured. He knows that without the light, the marksman will completely be useless. At this moment, the soldiers were busy preparing their positions, and the marksmen were assigned to the rooftops where they had a clear line of sight. Lieutenant Kim asked the rest of the awakened to focus on their assigned duties. Everyone followed his command and immediately arranged to their respective positions while holding their guns. One army reported to Lieutenant Kim that all troops were gathered in the ammo depot, and Lieutenant Kim then asked him to seal the entrance. The soldier immediately closed the gates and locked it to make sure that the monster could not enter. Young-jun went directly to Min-yi to ask about the situation. And as per Min-yi, they were almost done deploying the soldiers and luckily got some flares left so the marksmen should be able to see where the monsters were. He wasn't sure that it would be effective, but he was hoping for the best. Well, the monsters may not be infinite, but if we don't subdue them quickly, we're in trouble, Young-jun said. He asked about the direction of the awakened soldiers and Min-yi told him that he had organized the remaining awakened around the marksmen. The mages split between offense and defense, while the warriors took up protective positions. Their morale should be good since they ate a dinner mixed with Young-jun's morale boost. All the awakened were now prepared to battle while Young-jun informed Min-yi that he would use his dagger. If you're going in melee, isn't it better for you to stay behind? Min-yi asked. Brother, I'm the first awakened here, Young-jun answered, and Min-yi was annoyed knowing that there was no chance for him to stop Young-jun. After a few minutes, the cola cans rang, a sign that monsters were nearby. Everyone panicked while both Min-yi and Young-jun focused on their goal. All the monsters arrived. They immediately fired the flare to create a light for the marksmen. Lieutenant Kim was also at the rooftop, checking the monsters' distance, but he was startled the moment he saw numerous monsters coming. These monsters were all greedy and were moving too fast. Soo-hyun then asked Lieutenant Kim to give an order and Lieutenant Kim immediately commanded the marksmen to open fire. The marksmen started shooting the monsters and there were also troops below who also shot. As expected, monsters aren't easily killed but some are instantly dead. At the same time, Young-jun was glad knowing that his cooking was working since the troops were so eager to defeat the monsters. He knows that they would be in trouble if it wasn't for the flare they have. Now, they need to be a lot more careful. After a few minutes, the boss of the monsters has arrived. It was growling loudly, and the soldiers believed that this monster was the most dangerous one, so Lieutenant Kim asked all the marksmen to focus firing on the boss monster. Soo-hyun was run out of bullets, so he asked for another magazine and prepared himself to take down the boss. At the same time, Young-jun noticed something strange. He saw a grid and his skill chef's eye was suddenly triggered. Because of this skill, he discovered that the boss is called a lizard chieftain. The rarest and strongest of the lizards, none of the others compare to it nor dare to challenge his decisions. Young-jun was focusing himself observing this lizard chieftain and saw how fast it was compared to the normal lizard. This monster was also able to easily dodge every bullet. It turns out that this species is the same as the normal monsters, and Young-jun believes that it is stupid to be on the front line as the commander despite that it's strong. For Young-jun, this monster is just making himself a target. The monster roared so loud and his roaring sound created an echo surrounding the soldiers' barracks and making their ears in pain. The soldiers covered their ears, and at the same time, Young-jun wondered what skill the lizard chieftain was currently using. This time, he noticed the system window appeared to inform him that he had been exposed to a powerful peer, a battle cry. As per the system, all lizards' strength, speed, and health are increased momentaneous. All the Awakens saw the notification on their systems, and the system stated that all lizards would also be granted bullet resistance. And all nearby creatures that aren't lizards will receive the effects of confusion, unfocus, and inaccuracy. Everyone, including Young-jun and Min-yi, was shocked upon knowing it. Young-jun, what's going on? Min-yi asked, but one this Young-jun is for sure is that this is dangerous. At this moment, all of the marksmen felt dizzy as they were affected by the battle cry of the lizard chieftain. Lieutenant Kim panicked while the soldier behind him declared that monsters were so near to their barracks. All the monsters were covered with a purple flame. They were roaring loud while continuously heading to the soldiers' barracks. Soo-hyun was staring at these monsters, but his head was still in pain, and he believed that the confusion effect was making everyone lose their focus. He also felt that their defenses were failing at this time. What the hell are you doing? Get your shit together and resume fire, he screamed. That's all for today. Thank you so much for watching. I hope you guys enjoyed.